What happens at Grandma's stays at Grandma's is a model for you and your grandkids. If it's fun, it's fair game. But lately, hip pain has you grimacing more than laughing. And that's the moment you realize life's too short to put off treatment any longer.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for orthopedic care, with hundreds of joint replacements each year. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better. The Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 765, The Questions You Should Be Asking Yourself with mindset coach Janette Wold.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
What up, homies? Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. This conversation with Janette is amazing. But guess what? The beginning of it got deleted because of hashtag technology. So doing these podcast interviews virtually, you're kind of at the mercy of, internet power. So we had this great conversation. We started the podcast. Things dropped out, had to reset. And in that reset, my audio recording program also decided to delete the beginning of this conversation. So I do have to preface this by saying that beginning is gone. But kind of what you missed was Janette and I talked about her backstory of how she became this amazing mindset coach, how she grew up with a narcissistic mother, and how at 16, she was just kind of like, wow, my life is different than other people's. And when she started in her early 20s, she started going into therapy and kind of unraveling these sort of things of how she behaved in life and kind of how she needed to put her mind into action during those things. And that's how she has now become this mindset coach. She's absolutely amazing. She is on Team Fit with me, which you've heard me discuss on this podcast many times. So Sarah, who is a health coach, part of her team is Janette, who is the mindset part of it. And if you're interested in working with Sarah, or if you're interested in just working with Janette after hearing this conversation, you can save 10% off month one of all packages and plans when you go to teamfitwithme.com/poundthis. But let's jump into the part of the conversation where I was with Janette, kind of talking about how our mind is scattered all over the place now. And really, we need to hone in and be present and be in the present moment. So I think that so much of this stems at a lot of self-awareness. And it's something I've discussed a ton on this podcast, of just like having to look in the mirror and see and admitting some ugly things about yourself, and not just being like, oh, I have to change. I hate this about myself, of like being, I think, curious of why do I do these sorts of things? And I think that is going back into the past, like kind of, like you said, having, a narcissistic parent and realizing at 16 of like, oh, other people aren't this way. And I think it goes from a curiosity and like exploring those things and why they are affecting you now. Instead of, I think that's such a healthier approach than I know I'm guilty of in the past. And it feels like a lot of women are guilty of just like going into just trashing yourself, or like, oh, I'm just this way and I hate this about me. And just like, that's what it is. I mean, I guess I'm sure you find with some clients, that's probably some attitude that you get.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that I like to talk to my clients about is, let's actually resonate with who we are. Let's ask ourselves the hard questions. And sometimes, that's hard because we don't have a lot of time. So it could be that you spend 5 minutes in your car or 5 minutes in the bathroom shutting the kids out, or, you could just spend an hour sitting in your bed, but you have to ask yourself the hard questions, because it literally is, how do you feel about yourself when you're alone? How do you feel about yourself when you are by yourself? And if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, then we need to absolutely look at that. And so asking yourself the truly hard questions so that we can progress and we can, create a little bit of habit change, and we can decide what we need to do to make small shifts to create energy in our life is huge. And so I like to ask my clients, let's literally look at yourself. And it could be, kind of like a little bit of a constructive thing, or it could be a really positive thing. So, some of the questions I have is, Like, is my past keeping me from my present?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a huge thing because we don't live in our present. And that's what I really instill in clients is let's look at our present because we look at our past and we look at our future, but we don't enjoy the fact that I'm going to wash my face and how good that feels. And, the smell of the products that I'm using and how great my face looks and how great my makeup's going to look. And, that seems silly, but we don't live in the present. We always live in the past. So that's a really good question. What aspect of life is dragging me down?
And I have to
is
like
that a
really sit there
person?
and again, you have to be present to sit there and think through those things and actually
Yes.
like be quiet and not be scrolling on TikTok or watching TV or whatever else. Or I mean, listening to podcasts. Even, it's like you have to like hit pause for a second and sit there and like really ask yourself those hard questions, which is especially I think in the immediate gratification world that we have, it's really hard to sit still and like listen to your own thoughts. I mean, just like meditation and everything like that, that's so hard because it's so hard to quiet down, but it's never going to happen if you don't practice it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you just have to you do have to quiet down. And sometimes those things that are dragging you down are social media.
Yeah.
You're watching and comparing yourself and purchasing everything that it shows you, and you're watching TikToks and whatever, or it could be a family member or a person or a friendship or something that you feel like you need to apologize for. It could be so many things. Another one is like, what is distracting me? And of course, those goes into the same thing that we just talked about. But there could be different things that are distracting you, whether it's work related or kid related, or am I drinking 3 glasses of wine after I get home from work? What is actually distracting you? But the opposite side of that is what inspires you? Like,
Yeah.
what puts a fire under your ass that you really love? What do you love to do? Are you doing those things? Do you love to read? Do you love photography? Do you like to hike? Do you like to paint? Like, what is it that you truly love? And are you doing those things? Or do we need to look at your life and put 15 minutes into your day so that you can read 5 or 10 pages of a book that you want to read? Or, do we need to put an extra 2 hours into your whole entire week so that you can go paint or you can go, be curious about photography?
Isn't it crazy how we'll put like our favorite things last?
Yes.
Like, it's like, why do we do that? We know it's so good for us, but yet, I mean, that goes with anything. Like you would think that you like, oh, I know drinking water. I know moving my body. I know like fueling my body. I know having good connections with family and friends. Like, all of those things are so good for you and you feel so good when you do them, but yet you won't do them all the time. And even when you take it down to the level of like, do your very favorite thing and you still won't make time for it. It's like, why do we like self-sabotage and punish ourselves so much? And then we get in this state of burnout and crazy. And then it's like the answer is so simple, but yet it feels like there's no time to do those things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I truly think that us as women, we take on so much and we give so much to our family and our loved ones and our friends, which is great. But oftentimes we're living through, fears and things that have happened through us, but we don't take that time to say, well, what am I happy with and what do I want to do? Because if you took that time to look at, the things that inspire you or the things that, drive you through a beautiful, happy day of your present life, think of how that would radiate out into the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing is like, you can't pour from an empty cup, or it's like, if you aren't, then this is a conversation I'm having with myself now and a lot of things I'm going through of like, if I'm burnt out, if I'm not feeling healthy and feeling well and doing those things, like how can I help others do that same thing? If I there's nothing left of me to give. And it's like, so you have to give some to yourself, or there is nothing to give to other people. And it's hard. I think it's especially hard. I mean, I know for me personally, but I think I can speak for a lot of women, that you go into people pleasing, and it's easy to not have boundaries, and you do want to help and you want to serve, and it's hard to say no. And if you say no, then you're a bitch. And it's like, so then you just do nothing but give in ways that end up not serving them or you. And it's so hard to, like, how do you reconfigure the machine, which is, I guess, like we're having somebody like you comes in where you're like, listen, there's too much static in my own brain right now. I need somebody to come in here, take a look from the outside, and help me kind of reconfigure how this thing is going, so I can move forward and be here in the moment and operate the way I'm supposed to operate, instead of just from straight up crazy.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, like asking yourself those questions is like super empowering, because then you're the only one that can answer them.
Yeah.
You're the only one that can say to yourself, oh, yeah, I'm not doing this, or I am doing this, or I'm allowing this. And then kind of deciding what habit changes do I need to create in my day that are going to make a huge shift. Because different habit changes actually make huge momentum in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's see, for example, let's say like you stay up late because it's the only quiet time in your house. So you stay up until 11:30, 12, and you watch Netflix. And then in the morning you wake up late. And then what happens in the morning? You wake up in a rush, you don't wash your face, maybe you don't wash your hair, you're yelling at the kids, we have to hurry up, you don't see your husband in the morning, he's already left for work, you don't eat right, like whatever ends up happening. But yet, if you just went to bed 1 hour earlier, even though it's peaceful in your home and it's like, wow, this is the only quiet time I get, but if you just got 1 extra hour of sleep, you might wake up in the morning and think, wow, I can read 15 minutes of my book.
Yeah.
I can have schmexy time with my husband because he's still home and this is the only quiet time we get. Or, I can wash my face and wash my hair, and, I can feel good about myself before I move on and I do other things. And really, it was just 1 hour.
Yeah.
One different hour.
Well, I feel like too, things like you brought up social media earlier, of how that can start the comparison and distractions. But I think that's one of those things too. It's like those times that can be spent, and I'm guilty of this, of doing good things for yourself. You just get in a time suck of checking things on social media, and all of a sudden that 20 minutes is gone. And you could have done a lot of, again, not thinking of like, oh, I have to get work done in those 20 minutes, of like, what could you do to truly serve yourself in those 20 minutes? Was scrolling online truly serving you and putting you in a good headspace in those 20 minutes? But it's easy, and it's fun. It's a distraction. You don't have to think about the other things. So it's just, again, like that habit change of like, okay, and I know for myself, and I know multiple people I've been having conversations with just here recently are like, I'm deleting it off my phone. I can't do it anymore. Of taking that, like, I can't have a regulation. Like, I have timers and stuff on my social media, and I blow right past them. And so it's like, if you have to delete it, and that's what you have to do to take care of yourself, it's, again, like those hard conversations, those hard looks of like, when am I not taking care of myself? If that's the reason, then like what's your relationship with that? What are you going to do? Or are you just going to sit in it forever? Which I feel like so many people choose to just keep sitting in it forever until there's some sort of breaking point down the line. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's kind of just how it feels anyway.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I talk to a lot of women that are just massively infected by social media. And it's because they're looking at people that, they might portray themselves that they are different than you, or they have different things, or they look different than you. But truly, everybody has a beautiful thing that they can, that is them, their true self, right? And I mean, even for me, I had to delete TikTok because I could sit there for hours and, like you said, waste all this time on TikTok. And it wasn't serving me because I could, write more of the book that I want to write, or I could, read more of the book that I want to read, or, work on things that I definitely want to work on. But, just wasting my life away watching people that, it doesn't mean that their life is perfect
Yeah.
at all. They might have good things, better photography, better clothes, whatever. But the other thing is purchasing everything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know how many things I have in my house that I've purchased from Facebook ads? I'm like, I don't even need this. I don't even understand. Why did I even think this was a good thing? So, just kind of backing yourself away from it and being true to yourself and thinking like, what is it that I need in my life that is going to benefit my days, and taking yourself back to present. And that is the biggest thing that if I could tell anybody to actually look at, is what is it that's going on in my day that I can be grateful for, that I can love, and that I can, build upon, because there's so many things that people are going through, divorce and death and custody fights and whatever, but we can honestly find something beautiful in every single day, or something that we're grateful for in every single day, that can help us catapult through that day and be the best version that we can, and to stand up tall and say, all right, I'm going to handle this. We have hard things. I'm going to handle this today. And, even if it's 15 minutes out of a 24-hour day,
Yeah.
what can I do to just be myself, take myself back to present, and love the day and love the people that surround me and support me?
Well, and we had discussed as part of my coaching with you, I'm such a huge fan of gratitude journaling, and I 100% believe with you, but I find myself, even though as much as I recommend for other people to gratitude journal, I have a hard time gratitude journaling, because then I'll sit there in the morning and be like, I don't know, I'm thankful for my cats. And it just doesn't feel like as genuine as it, like, so I definitely will pause during moments and be like, oh my God, like, I can't believe this is my life. This is amazing. I appreciate how beautiful this sunset is, or how nice it smells outside, or whatever. But like writing those in the morning, even though I recommend that, I just have a block there. And so as you and I were working together, I suggested, I'm like, well, what if I did, like, what did I accomplish today? And that whatever clicks with my brain better. And I'm sure there's some sort of, if you want to take the psychology part of it and pick that out of like, oh, you're an overachiever and that stems from this and this and this, like, sure. But at the same time, like, it's been helpful for me to at least be like, okay, and I'm grateful for those things. I'm grateful I'm able to do these things, and accomplishments mean, small things too, of I went to the gym today, or I got up and did this. And it's like, what did I accomplish today? And then for me, what's been helpful is at the end of a week or the end of the month, and go back and look at that and be like, I get in this negative self-talk for myself to be like, oh, you're not doing enough. Again, like, go, therapist here. There's a lot of crap behind that, but like, you're not doing enough. You're not working hard enough. You're not even doing, you just feel like I'm sitting here spinning my wheels. And then like, well, no, I wrote this down. Look at all the things I did just today. Look at all the things I did this week. I'm like, I'm doing a shit ton of stuff, and I'm not giving myself credit for it. But when it's staring me in the face after I write it down, it's like, I have to acknowledge of like, no, I'm doing a lot. I'm doing probably more than I should. And like, to actually, like, that's been helpful for me. And I really appreciate that through our conversations of everything is just a reframe, and what works for one person isn't working for another. So as much as I think gratitude journaling is amazing, it just needed a different lens on it and a tweak on it for it to work with my brain a little bit better.
Yeah. And isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Like, what you took out of it, and what it gained in your life, because gratitude actually brings you back to your present.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even have to label it gratitude. It could just be evaluating your days.
Yeah.
And it can be in different ways. Some people aren't, gratitude journalers, where they're just going to write down, 2 pages of everything that they love and blah, blah, blah. But you can do gratitude in so many different ways. Like, You can lay in bed and think about, okay, what am I grateful for that happened in the last 24 hours? Or one of my favorites, what I'm doing right now, because I change my gratitude all the time just to, spice it up and think about different things, is I lay in bed and I think about my day and I think, who do I want to be today?
Yeah, I like that.
Who do I want to be? Who do I need to be today? Who am I going to encounter today that I need to be powerful for? Because just because that doesn't bring you back to you, you're still empowering other people, and it also, leads back to who you are. So if I lay in bed and I think, okay, who do I want to be today? I'm gonna be doing these things today. So maybe I need to be, an powerful mom or a powerful coach, or whatever that looks like in my life. Also, what do I want to learn today? Or what did I learn yesterday?
Yeah.
Wow. What did I learn yesterday is amazing, because if you encounter all the people that you have came into contact with in the last 24 hours, and they taught you about a Netflix show, or a new medical thing that happened, or they taught you about, like, I live in Arizona, so like we have palm trees. So somebody yesterday was teaching me about different palm trees. Well, I didn't know that. I've lived here for years.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so when I think about what did I just learn yesterday, I mean, that is amazing. How did I make somebody's day yesterday? Because obviously you're, evaluating the last 24 hours, but you can do that in your car. You can do that while you're making breakfast. You don't have to write it down.
Yeah.
Just think about all the beautiful things that have happened in your life.
Yeah. And
or as they happen.
Back to your point of just like pausing a second and being present instead of like letting it all wash past you. And all of a sudden it's 2023 now. And like, where did 2022 go? And you didn't even pay attention to what was happening while it was happening to you.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it crazy that it was just New Year's and now it's Easter? And it's like, what have I done?
Right. Or just even being, past the 2-year mark of COVID, of like 2 years. 2 years. And like, even I had to go to the dentist this morning, and I was sitting there, and the last several times I've been to the dentist, obviously, and there's a lot of mandates going on, but now like the iPads are back for the kids, and all of these things are back. And that dawned on me today. I was like, oh, like I just didn't even, like, that became the norm for 2 years of all of these different things. And I'm like, oh, this is back to how it was 2 years later. I'm like, oh my God. Again, just how like where it seems like it's been a million years and 2 months at the same time. So it's just like one of those things that's like, we're going to blink and this is all over. So why aren't we appreciating it in those moments? And actually I was part of a conversation. I kind of want to get your thoughts on this of taking it to a next level of, I love the thought of like, who am I going to be today? Or even of like, it's one of those things you can always change who you are. It's one of those things of like, oh, well, once I graduate high school and I go to college, I'm going to be this whole other person. I'm like, well, you can do that every day if you really want to. Like you can find ways, even, if you're not financially able to, or whatever your circumstances are, you're able to move into this person you want to be. And sure, there's probably going to be consequences. The same people might not be in your life after that, but you can still make those changes. So this conversation I was in was saying that you should think about like, who do you want to be, but then to actually make some physical changes in that. So to make it more tangible, like go get the tattoo, cut your hair, get new glasses, go get your ears pierced, get your septum pierced, whatever is that thing that's like, this is who I want to be. And now let's make that physical. I can touch it and make it actually put it into practice in my life. So it's not just this idea that like spins around over and over again. And then it's a year from now and you still haven't chosen to make those choices that you feel good about.
Yeah, absolutely. Physical things just make such an impact in your world. I was just telling you a minute ago, my daughter had super long hair, and she has been talking about, well, we have been talking to her about cutting it short because all she wears is a baseball cap. And then this weekend, she came to us and said, over Easter, came to us and said that she wanted to cut it short. And of course, everybody in the family was like, oh my gosh, it would be so great on you. You know, it would really, you know, spark your personality because she has this beautiful, giving personality. And so we cut it, and I cannot tell you the confidence that it has instilled in this child. Well, she's not a child, she's 30, but my child. And like literally, she sends me pictures every day of how she has styled it and how people have reacted to her and how they are, wow, this is literally your personality. And it has brought so much light to who she is and almost what she has let go of.
Yeah.
I think that's the beautiful thing is like she didn't have the confidence. And she said that a couple times while she was here, that I just haven't had the confidence to do it. And now all of a sudden her eyes have changed, her face has changed, her confidence it just exuded. And it's crazy what just a little haircut will do for you.
Right. It's one of those things of like, you don't need to go through a whole career change, relationship change.
Yeah.
You can just go get your hair cut and it can change your life. Like, it's just one of those things of, I think just sitting on it, meditating on it, thinking about it, and just being like, well, if not now, when? And feeling more confident about it, which is, to bring it back to, the health and fitness realm. I'm sure that you deal with clients, that are working with Team Fit with me and Sarah, and so much of my, like health and fitness experience of just kind of like, is this a life I really want? Like, I want to feel healthy. I want to be able to go summit a mountain if I want to. I want my knees to feel good. Like, I just want to feel like alive and comfortable in my body. And that's where it's like, I think that's so amazing that you're on the team, because I think it's so much more than just like, oh, well, just eat less, move more. Like that whole spiel that everybody has gotten forever of like, well, yes, there's definitely nutrition, definitely movement, but your brain is a part of this whole process too. And it's hard to undo these conversations you've had with yourself and these habits that have been, bore into you for your entire life. So how do we get your mind in the headspace where you can make these changes, where you can feel the confidence to get the haircut or to hit the gym or whatever it is, so you can like, I want to live my life the way I can live it. How do I get my brain on board to start making some of these choices so I can actually reach the goal that I set for myself?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's truly in small little habit changes and seeing the energy shift of how those habit changes affect your life. Like one of the things I think I talked to you about this was clearing the clutter out of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes clearing the clutter could be, past relationships that you may have. It could be emails, it could be social media, it could be not apologizing for something. It could, I was just listening to a podcast and he said, if you're still resonating with it in 24 hours, you need to figure it out in 48. If it's still bothering you in 24 hours, you need to figure it out in 48. Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely need to, figure out what is hindering your habits. So just taking a look back at like what you do every day, and it could be physical space. It could be that, you walk into your bedroom, which is your only safekeeping because your kids are, all over the place, or maybe your husband is, playing games and you only hear his games going on, or, whatever that looks like in your life. Everybody has a different life, but if just going into your bedroom is like your safe haven, then if you walk into it and it's cluttered and there's clothes all over everywhere and you're like, fuck, this is a mess.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help you be peaceful. Maybe you need to clean that up. Maybe you need to put candles in it and, clean that thing up so that it's like, a safe haven for you. But just small little shifts, maybe, it's that you're not drinking enough water, or you're not, eating right, or you're not planning your food, or whatever that looks like. But if you just make a small, little, tiny shift in your day and then see how it changes the energy of your day, and I don't necessarily mean like the energy of you, but just if you change, just like the sleeping thing, if you got up an hour early and you were able to read for a minute and just, understand what your day was going to be like, and be able to get your kids in order or whatever, and have a more peaceful morning, how does that change the energy of your entire day?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think better? Do you go to work and your presentations are better? Do you then think, wow, I can work out after work, or, however that looks. But, literally looking at the habits of your day and tweaking little small things, and then clearing out the clutter of things that could happen in your day. A lot of times we live in like mistakes that we've made, or, like I said, not forgiving, or social media, or even changing the clothes that you wear.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I had this thing last year, and I feel like I'm about to go through it again. I just looked at my closet and I'm like, well, none of this feels like me anymore. Like I just want, not that I had, the funds to go buy a whole new wardrobe, which I didn't, but it was just still like, what am I holding on to these for? And I have hoarding tendencies anyway. So it's like, I have a hard time letting things go. So it's like, but I'm like, well, we're going to have to do, a donation haul here, because I'm like, this doesn't even feel like me anymore. Like, what am I holding this onto these shirts for? This is from another life. Like this I don't resonate with this at all. And it's like, well, then get it out of here then, and stop being like, well, maybe I might want to wear that again. And I'm going to regret if I get rid of it. And then I'm going to look back and be upset at myself of like, oh my God, like it's a shirt. Why am I worrying so much about this one thing? Get it out of here.
Right? Yeah, because we resonate with it so much. And also you said, which was so beautiful, is like last year it resonated with you, but maybe this year it didn't, because you've grown, because you're a different person, because you've learned new things.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's something that I'm guilty of too, and I think a lot of us have gotten guilty of, is just really kind of like getting stuck on, oh, I used to do it this way, or this worked for me, and when I did this, it worked, and I like that, and it's like, but that doesn't exist anymore. Of like, oh, well, I was this size in high school. Well, you're not in high school anymore. Why are we comparing ourselves to this person that doesn't exist? And I've caught myself doing that, of like, oh, well, this used to be my workout routine, and if I could just do that again, I'm like, well, that's a different person in a different life. Yeah. We have to move forward and find out what's best for now, and not get stuck on what worked before. And I don't know, I think that's a real easy loop to get stuck into, just because it's familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I can impress anything, it's like living in the present, just living in, I might have worn that, Journey t-shirt 10 years ago, but maybe today I'm a different person. And so I want to live in a different way. It's almost, my favorite quote is uncrowning the circumstance.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Uncrowning it, because you put it on a pedestal. Like, this is who I am and this is what I believe, but yet it's a year later, and so you believe something else, and you've been through different experiences, and you've lived through different friendships and different family members, and so now you've grown and learned and believed different things. So now you can live in the presence of where you're at and say, okay, this is where I'm at, and this is what I believe today.
Yeah. And I think being able to do that, and trying to take away the fear of judgment with that, of like, oh, well, I said this, but now I mean this, of like, oh, I don't want to be this person. But it's like, if you're just like, if you own it, then you have nothing to be judging about. Like, that's where, I'm almost at 800 episodes of this podcast. I started this podcast at the very beginning of 2018. I would not be having this exact same conversation in January of 2018. And for the people that have listened to every episode, oh my God, thank you. But that's intense. I'm like, I think you can hear me. Through my own journey, through so many conversations I've had on this podcast, and all the people I have met, Like, you can hear my philosophies change for myself, the advice that I give. And it's like, I don't know, I can't like apologize for that or things that I said in 2018, because that's what resonated with me then. And that's fine for then. And then I might be different now, or I might have different advice towards you now, or I might eat differently now or move my body differently now than I did then. And like, I feel like that if I get hung up on worrying about how I'm going to be perceived through that process, then I'm just not going to do it at all. And I think that's a hard thing too about making a mindset shift or setting boundaries or creating change for yourself, is like, well, how will the world around me react to me having this opinion today and next year having a different opinion? And ultimately, like, it shouldn't matter. But that's easier said than done.
Right. Absolutely. The thing that I think about is, when you're talking, is the thing that messes us up most in our life is what we think should happen.
Yeah.
We're going to an event and we think that like this should happen. I should talk to this person. I should meet this person, or this should happen. And then when it doesn't, if that person didn't have the same reaction to you that maybe you think they should have, then we get hurt. But really, it was because in our mind, we thought this is what should happen in this event, but that's not what happened. So then we have to reevaluate ourselves, but it's really just the thing that we had in our mind,
Mm-hmm.
And it could be with anything, but whatever messes us up most is really what we think should happen.
Yeah. That's why I resonate so much with Brene Brown's work, where she talks about, the story that we tell ourselves. Like
Brene, she is the genius.
Yeah,
life,
I know.
right?
So it's just like, of like, how many times is this just a story I wrote in my own head? And it's like, I think that I think, again, it's the practice. Like, I'm never going to be perfect at that, but I think that I can see the self-awareness enough, or try to be like, to catch myself doing that, or at least on the other side of it, and be like, okay, well, this is a storm that I brewed in my own head here. And so I think it's just recognizing those things. Again, it's yucky. It's not fun. It's way easier to point the finger at somebody else and be like, well, this was because of you. But really, to be like, well, I got to take some ownership in that. And that's not sexy or fun, but that's where you're going to get forward movement, so you don't go through that situation again. So I think it's just, being not only being willing to be present, but being willing to put in the amount of work that, because it is work, but it's at the same time, I'm like, I feel so much more at peace and better about my life now going through this work, rather than getting caught up in the storms. So that's why I think this work is really important to me, just because it's changed me a lot. I think I've spent so much of my journey spent on the physical part of the journey, of the nutrition and the fitness and the hydration and the sleep and all that stuff. And really the past several years, the real big work for me has been on the mental space and working with my emotions and the stories I tell myself, and where's my brain in the process of all of this. And man, that it's a brutal process.
Yeah.
It's much easier just to go to the gym.
Right. And it changes every day. It changes with every aspect of what's happening in our life, right? I mean, we can be strong about some things and then not as strong with other things. One of my favorite Brene Brown quotes, it's beautiful, it's simple, but if you really think about it, it's so beautiful. And it's, authenticity is a collection of choices that we make every day.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that can really resonate with you in so many different ways, and so different every single day.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So for you going through all of this work for yourself personally, and obviously it's changing your life so much that you want to make this, a profession, and you're helping others, what do you find are still some of your struggle points?
Let's see. So some of my struggle points would be, I feel like every day I have to really resonate in my gratitude, really resonate in that, because I think that is, you know, a, a challenge of keeping yourself present. So I really do that every single day, whether that's, while I'm washing my face or while I'm making my breakfast or whatever that looks like. I definitely look at that and say, all right, what am I grateful for? What have I achieved? What do I want to be today? Like I do a lot of different things in that aspect, but just absolutely looking at that. I think that looking at fears that I have is, a beautiful thing. Looking at the way that I'm perceiving myself, to myself and to others, is, not necessarily a challenge, but I definitely want to bring vibrancy to my life, and I want to bring vibrancy to other people's lives. And so I definitely look at, how can I make somebody's day? Because I truly believe that if you can bring not only happiness to your day and self awareness to your day, that if you can bring, happiness and vibrancy to somebody else's day, then they are not, the universe is not only going to bring that back to you, but then they are going to bring that out to other people. Just like yesterday when I was out, somebody said to me, "You look really beautiful today." And it was like literally a moment when I was like in my head thinking, I have all this to do, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, he just made my day.
Mm-hmm.
He brought my whole day up because he said that. And that's how the universe works.
Yeah, just like pass it along, and also too there's the empowerment, the power of just positive feedback or compliments and stuff too, where it's just like, man, like I'll think that sometimes, or I'll think that in my head, or like I really love those shoes or whatever it is, and I'm like, just say it. Like why I've spent so much of my life like, just don't say anything, don't rock the boat, like don't make it weird. It's like, no, just say that. You don't know how that is going to, especially if you have something positive to say. I'm never going to like go up to somebody and say something negative to them, but it's like,
right.
You never know like how impactful that is. And I've brought this up a ton on this podcast before. Somebody gave me a compliment at the gym several years ago, and I have it tattooed on me now. It's my only tattoo. And so it's like how much that really resonated with me, where we were just working out one day and he's like, wow, he's like, you are a force. And I'm like, I just love that for so many ways of like, yeah, like force to be reckoned with, force of nature. Like that's how I want to like show up in this world. What a great way that I love that you saw that in me, and I want to see that in myself. And I want a reminder of that every day when I'm having bad days of like, no, this is me. So it's like one of those things of like, he wouldn't have said that. Like that, I don't know if I would have ever said that to myself. And so just words are powerful. And how powerful they are in the positive end, they're just that powerful on the negative end. So I think also be aware of that, of how much damage you can do to somebody, because again, like you have this pain or whatever inside of you and you need to unleash that on someone else. You don't know what you're spinning that off into, kind of bringing it back to where we started of like narcissistic parents and things like that of like, man, it's just, the power is everybody has so much power, and it's like, how do you choose to use that? And if you're focusing on the positive things in your life and what you want to be and where you want to go, I don't really feel like most people want to be like, I want to be an asshole.
Right. You would hope so.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, you're probably going to, put more good into the world by focusing on these things and having these questions that you brought up to ask yourself than not, at least in my opinion anyway.
Absolutely. And it's amazing how like a negative or a constructive thing that you can say to somebody impacts them worse than how a positive thing can impact them greatly.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I've had guests on this podcast before where their mom said something negative about their body once in high school, and it spun into an eating disorder for years of just like, oh my gosh, like it's crazy. And so how many people I've had on this podcast that were either fat shamed or skinny shamed or anything like that, that it's just gone into this, like, you never know what that's going to do. And I think it's just, I don't know. I feel I've gotten a lot more mindful of, like, especially like you get in an argument and you start saying stuff you don't mean because you just want to cut somebody back, of like, no, what I can say can affect somebody for the rest of their life. Like, let's not go there, go to a place that I'm going to regret.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, in my life, my mom had, different husbands, and I have 6 siblings in my life, and, pretty much everybody has different fathers or, whatever. But, um, I'm the only one that was like the shorter, kind of chunkier one. And so she said one thing into my life that I like literally gave me like body dysmorphia for a long time until I was like probably 30. And then I was like, no, I'm beautiful. I'm great. I'm fine. But like that one thing that she said to me was, I was different than everybody else because I wasn't as tall and didn't have the long legs or, whatever. But when I was 30, I was like, well, I'm great. I'm beautiful. I'm great. I love the way I am. I don't care that I'm 5'1", well, 5 3/4. But, like I'm a short girl, but man, I have a lot of impact and I have a lot to teach people. And I just really resonated with a lot of things that a lot of my clients say to me about just one little thing can super impact a lot. And when it's from people that you have some sort of community with, power with, because obviously parents, they have a hold over us or they have a power over us. And so, sometimes the things that they say to us can really, benefit us or hinder us through our lives. And so, that is one thing that I literally try and like keep in my mind, like everything I say, am I hindering or am I empowering? Because I don't want to hinder. I want to empower you to, go be the best version of yourself that you can. And the other thing is when I hear people say I made a mistake doing this, well, I don't feel like people make mistakes. I feel like you made the best mistake, the best reaction to whatever it was that was going on in your life at the best time.
Yeah.
And that created learning experiences for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I love so much of like, why is this, what is this teaching me versus why is this happening to me?
Yes. Yeah.
And that, like that, just that shift alone will change so many things of going from, of like, well, people go through a lot of stuff that sucks a lot, but it's like, you can sit there and hang in the suck. And you probably should for a while, feel it, go work through the feelings and then be like, okay, well, what do I learn from this? How do I move on? And that's something that took me a while to work through and get through that. And again, it's just made life easier. Not that life is easy, but it's definitely, it's okay. Well, these things are happening and this sucks, but I can learn something from this. And I think that's what's so important. Like you brought up, like having a community, how much that can change of like why it is so positive, like what Sarah's created with Team Fit with me and with you on that team of like having a good community of people that you can go to that are a resource, asking questions that can kind of pull you into like, I'm sure when you're working with a client and they're like, oh my God, this happened, I don't know what to do with this, how you have at least an outside source to be like, okay, well, what can we learn from this? If you aren't in that space to put your brain and tell yourself that, to at least have the community around you that can kind of be like, okay, well, let's pause and like, what can we learn from this? And how can we move forward from this? And how can we take, lemons into lemonade? And, how can we work with this? And I think that's why it's so important to have connection and have people, because life is hard enough anyway, but doing it on your own is insanely hard. To have somebody that is definitely like on your team and has best intentions changes the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Community is a huge thing. Like if you look at your life and you think like the community around me, and when you think community, it's your friends or your family or just interactions that you have with people in your workplace or whoever that is. But the people that are surrounding you. Your surroundings should be like people that are precious in your life. And so if your community does not serve you, or it is not bringing the same vibration or growth that you're in, then it's time to probably look at building a higher community. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of those people in your life, but just setting maybe a little bit of boundary with those people in your life so that you can bring other people in your life that are in your, same realm of believing, in your same growth of wanting more. Like those like-minded aspiring people, if that's where you're at, so that you can continue to grow. Because we all know that if we are wanting to grow and our entire community is people that aren't wanting to grow or are in, the mindset of, this keeps happening to me, but I don't want to change to make it better. And you do, then it's time to maybe kind of, set some boundaries and say, I want to hear you, but I also need to expand myself.
Yeah. So if somebody if they're listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, like I am resonating with this so hard and I want to work with Janette and I want, to be a part of her community. So how does this work? So if like you've joined Sarah and Team Fit with me, do you just like request, like be like, hey, I want to work with Janette. Can somebody just work with you outside of Team Fit with me without doing all of the, the nutrition and the fitness part of it? Like I don't know how that deal works with you.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're part of Team Fit with me, then Mindset Coaching comes with your program. If you want to just work with me, you can go on teamfitwithme.com and you can request a consult with me, and then we can just, discuss, see if we're a great fit. And then you can follow me on Janette W. So Janette is JANETTEW_fit with me. You can follow me on Instagram, or you can DM me and we can, chat. And, I would love to help inspire your life and, help you grow through your intentions for sure.
And I'll put all of those links in the show notes. And also just a reminder that 10% off all packages, month one of all packages and plans with Team Fit with me when you go to teamfitwithme.com/poundthis. So which would include coaching with you as well. So I'm going to have that in the link as well. And I feel like I could talk to you forever.
No, me too. Me too. I have so many things that we could talk about.
So you'll definitely have to come back. And I mean, we're going to continue our coaching. So then maybe we can do I don't mind going into a deep dive about the kind of the stuff that we've worked on. So you'll have to come back and we'll have to chat some more, because again, ongoing process. We're never going to have it all figured out. We're just learning more and more every day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you so much.
AmandaValentineBites.com